So I just wanted to do a video on the 2017 WRX, the FA20 engine. I have, let's see, 58,000 miles on it. I've owned it for about 5 years. I leased it the first 3 years, so I paid the most up front in those 3 years, and then I purchased it. So the basics that I enjoyed was it's a daily driver. It's got enough room for the family. It's got a decent trunk for a small car. Has good gas mileage. I'm getting about 29 miles per gallon now, and I'm having fun with it, but it pretty much drive just like with everybody else, you know, drive with the flow. So I'll drive around a little bit, and then I'll kind of explain maybe some of the quirks, some of the things I really love about it. I'm going to go into the modifications that I've done to it, and then I have some parts over here. I'm waiting for a couple more parts. I'll let you know what I'm planning on next. Alright, so a couple things I didn't like when I purchased it, started driving it. The ridiculous rev hang between shifts, especially first to second. So this was back, you know, the first few years that I had it. I had to kind of live with it. So I was just using it on a daily basis just to get to work and do little things here and there. I had a relatively low mileage lease, so I didn't take it on too many trips. But city driving was kind of a challenge, as far as just shifting smoothly in first and second. So purchasing it. So basically the week before I purchased it, the battery was going down. I did have, you know, just a stock battery at that time. So I replaced it, and then when I went in, I found out there was a recall that had just come out for the battery. So I got myself, you know, had to buy a battery for nothing. No other major issues that I've had. Just continued to drive it stock, and then started planning on the hopes that I could modify and do some upgrades now that I purchased it. So current modifications, first thing I did was purchase a COBB Accessport. The reason I got that was twofold. One, I wanted to get rid of the rev hang, and I heard that was the best way to do it. And two, it would help me with flexibility on upgrades. And so a lot of off-the-shelf tunes. I had planned on going mostly off-the-shelf and staying real conservative. And then started ordering some other parts, but it'll give me the flexibility I need to get an E-tune. So right now I have the Accessport. The second best thing that I did was getting an air oil separator. And what that does is takes all the blow-by in the case and in the head that go past the valves, the seals, etc. It gets recycled into the intake and gets thrown into the combustion chamber to sort of deal with it. But it also gums up that system. It also dilutes your octane of your fuel, so you get inconsistent fuel. You can get some weird ignition times, and just makes for a rough idle as well. So what I did is purchased stock rated heat replacements, just direct OEM replacements, spark plugs. And at the same time I replaced those, I installed the air oil separator and installed the COBB big SF air intake. So all my induction was a little smoother and much cleaner. And then I got the COBBs off the shelf tune for that. And basically I'm running the 1 Plus tune. And right away the rev hang, it disappeared, and it felt like a whole different car. It really drove like the car should have. It really cheaped it out the way that it was tuned. The turbo came on just too quick and then just disappeared after that. So got rid of that, and my idle smoothed out tremendously once I threw in 1 tank of a bottle of injection cleaner and cleaned out the system, and it's had a nice silky smooth idle ever since. So one thing I would recommend is the COBB Accessport for sure. If you have the early model. I think they fixed it in 2019, so you have any model between 15 and you'll have to look it up, 19 FA20 COBB Accessport. At least if you only purchase one thing, get that, get rid of the rev hang, smooth out the turbo, the boost timing, and you'll have like a whole new car. Make it much more enjoyable. So, speaking of the power curve, it's much more linear now. It comes on in a manner that makes sense. The more RPMs you get, the more fuel and air coming in, the boost follows, and then it goes from there. So it didn't lose the power, just how it was delivered, the timing of it. And so it drives great. Highly recommend the air oil separator because like I can't even tell the car's running. I can hear the little throwout bearing squeaking, which is an issue that is just annoying, not harmful. But I mean, it's just so smooth. The benefit to an air oil separator is the oil is usually recycled and put back into the oil system, whereas a catch can does exactly what it seems. It catches the blow-by, makes it retain into the container. You have to empty it, and I didn't go that route, so I don't know. You probably change it. It's probably good to just check it at least every oil change. So just imagine all of that oil is just going through your intake system, and that's just excessive. So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna don't want to go crazy, but you want a nice, smooth, reliable running WRX of this body and engine style, get a COBB Accessport air oil separator or catch cans. Change your plugs at the same time that you get your catch can, and really that's it. The air intake didn't add a lot, but what it gives me is flexibility for what's coming next. So what's next? See, this is exactly why I had to take out my rear sway bar. So I guess we'll start with suspension, since I'm about to go through all this ridiculous Indianapolis area road quality. So what happens is, if you have a not so amazing street asphalt, you get the temperature fluctuations, it snows, you get the plows coming and digging it up, then it rains, the water gets under the pieces of asphalt, pushes up more asphalt, and it's got this kind of cycle of rubbishness. So I took you on an extreme course. I did this on purpose. So they call this pothole season in between. Get your plows going, and then when it thaws out after you discover new or worsening potholes, and so 'tis the season. So I purchased a PERRIN 25 millimeters rear sway bar. They're solid end links. They don't have ball joints. FactionFab F-Spec coilovers, and installed those. I have a video for those components. What I had to do is go back to the stock rear sway bar, but I kept the solid end links. And what I did next was doubled the preload on the springs that was recommended during installation for the most comfortable ride, which is 4 millimeters. So I have 8 millimeters of preload on my shock springs. Which gives me a little bit of stiffness above like the comfort zone. So I don't want a passenger car comfort. If I did, I would have bought, something else, a Legacy or something. So I have now, the way that spring preload works is there's that much force being squeezed onto the coil springs, and that's always there. It's a potential energy that's already been kind of set, and in order to get any other movement on that spring, you have to make that much force, 8 millimeters times the strength of the coil, plus any other force. So you're starting out with a more stiff setting. So it gives me a little more stiffness. That combined with about the midpoint in the adjustments for the damping. I got strut tower braces, and all of those things combined have given me, I think, what I was looking for, and hopefully get some turns and corners around here that I can demonstrate that, but not sure. But now I'm getting some good traction. The body is not rolling, but it moves just enough to give me the comfort when I'm driving daily. So the rear sway bar being stock again helped, like keeping the end links, preloading the springs, and then just getting a moderate damping. I think it's given me the perfect suspension that I can ask for right now on this car, because I have to drive it every day, go through stuff like this. So this feels like a much more expensive car now. It just rides so smooth. These FactionFab coilovers are really great. They were less than $1,000. They were less than $900. So far, I'm impressed. Now, will they last? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But my initial kind of reaction is, well, if you've got $1,000 laying around, you need some coilovers. Get the FactionFabs. No noise, no issues. They adjust exactly like they said they would. They ride exactly like they say they do, and it rides nice. Feel the bumps more because I've got preloaded. You get springs, but it's dampened in a way where it's just kind of louder and it goes through the body, but it actually handles the bumps better than stock. It's got a better ride than stock. My opinion, from what I felt in the past, was the damping, it was set too low on the stock, just for all generic drivers, and it was mostly sprung weight. A lot of the weight was on the springs, and that was just creating too much body roll, because the springs work in both directions. The damping will slow you down extending or retracting, and I'm sure it can be controlled different velocities going up and down, but that damping allows roll. The sway bars allow the roll. A really loose spring will create more roll. So if you want to have a nice sporty ride, highly recommend Coilovers. And if you're going to get a aftermarket sway bar, get one that's stock, or at least close to stock, and then if it has a little bit of settings on it, you know, you can set it a little stiffer, but as long as, even just with a little bit more, a little better material, the same dimensions probably do just fine. If you're going to do some daily driving on it, do a lot of daily driving on it. And if you're just going to drive it once in a while and you're going to do a lot of racing with it, autocross or whatever, then go to those 25s. That was amazing. I mean, it was effortless going around corners 10, 15 miles an hour faster than, you know, I had ever tried before. Absolutely no feeling of loss of control. And at that point, you're looking at your tires as the next weak link. So if you're going down that route, you know, just think about that. So as I've been driving around all these roads, driven in these roads for a while, and I can tell it's better than stock even on this roughness. I've been here long enough to know where to avoid most of the potholes, but like I said, they're twice as big as the last time I've come here. This is that pothole season. So if you're in the Midwest, don't spend your money on a rear sway bar. I'm telling you, just buy something else. So general build quality, I've heard, I don't know what they're thinking or what they're doing, but I've heard people say these are like small rattly cars, and I have not had that experience at all. This thing is solid. The only thing that rattles in this car are things I have loose in the glove compartment or in my little cup holder. There's a nice little third gear turn here, but a lot of traffic, bikers, bicyclists and such, so often can't really push it, so I don't want to get in trouble, get bad rep around the city. Got a nice clean driving record. I want to keep it that way. Plus I want to be safe, you know, safe driver. So again, build quality, super happy. It's quiet. I love the way the doors close solid. Nothing rattles. I have no new noises. 5 years of ownership, I have no new rattles. When I had the sway bar on, though, I could tell that there were some joints and fasteners that were going to loosen up for sure. So I'm glad I took that off. It was unfortunate, but it's just something I had to do. So build quality, very impressed. I've got a good built car. Been reliable, super reliable. Like I said, I tried to be as methodical as I could on deciding what to modify and when, and I think I made some great decisions. So COBB Accessport, air oil separator, and change your plugs, and then you're talking like $1,000 or less, and you've got a really nice upgraded vehicle. So at the time that I purchased this, I got it for $29,000, and basically because I leased it, I paid the most of it up front. But right now this thing is worth probably only like $4,000 less than when I purchased it 5 years ago. Because of all of the things that have been going on, you know, these are rough times. So it's good for the value of selling, but it's a seller's market. So go ahead, be aware. If you have one of these, I'd say hang on to it if you can. I think this is going to be a new classic. Which brings me to just a quick little discussion about the 2022, the new model WRX. See, I cringed there because I thought I had my rear sway bar on, but man, it soaked it up good. Love this suspension. Anyways, the new generation WRX I think is extremely ugly, and I just don't think it's gonna be attractive to people who not only like a nice modern drive, but want something that looks like it'll last. Like, I don't know that it just looks too plain and ugly. It looks like a Nissan Sentra and a Honda Civic got stuck in an alternate universe and then popped out into a third universe and just became some weird thing. So that's just my opinion. But I've heard good things about the way, you know, the technology behind it. The suspension is adaptable, and it's got that global kind of design. It has the newer engine that is also shared with the probably the Outback and the Ascent, which, you know, isn't a bad thing, but I would never think about getting this generation WRX. Someone would have to flat out just give it to me for me to have one. I want a car that looks nice too. How can I describe it? Looks like it'll last, you know. There's just no, I don't think anything cool about it. That's all. I'll take a picture of my car later when I get the rest of my parts. I'll do a layout, take a picture of my car, show you the stance, and just show you why I like this model. Brakes, I'll tell you about the brakes. The brakes are adequate for daily driving. They do fade out if you're racing around a lot, or like I took it to an autocross test and tune a couple times, and the brakes faded out after a couple runs. I think I did 2 or 3 runs in a row, and it was like scary that last run. So, but then again, it's not made for that. So otherwise, if you're just daily driving, I think the brakes are totally adequate. I haven't changed the pads on this or the rotors, and I've had it 5 years, like I said. Just, I don't know, maybe I got lucky, but I am in love with this car, and I'm going to try to hang on to it if I can, but if not, you know, I'm going to be really particular on probably who I sell it to. I don't want anybody getting hurt on this thing. I want someone who's going to take care of it and hang on to it for quite a while. That's kind of why I want to hang on to it, because I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a new classic. Oh, yeah. I couldn't do that on the stock. I'd be rolling all over the place. So I got a nice little stomach rest there. That was a good test. So I think, like I said, I got the suspension dialed in on this sucker now. I love it. It's perfect. So again, brakes are good for daily driving, no issues. Steering. I've owned a few BMWs, and you know, the hydraulic steering is, talk about input. I mean, you gotta work when you're playing with the BMW. And then I've had some really like loose cars that, you know, a lot of body roll, SUVs and such, passenger cars, you know, with the typical, you know, you turn it with your pinky. So this is kind of in the middle. You get a decent amount of feedback. You have to work a little bit, but for this car, I think if it had hydraulic steering, it would be just like a huge benefit, because it is a little notchy. You know, and I notice it because I'm driving in, you know, little county roads like this. But if I was, you know, in some just constant city driving, might not even care or realize it. But those little adjustments that you feel from a hydraulic system to an electronic, you can tell. So that's just like nitpicking. No, like I said, this is an excellent daily. Like I said, these are rough roads. I'm driving on them on purpose because I'm really testing out my latest setup on my suspension. So, and I'm really enjoying it more than I did in stock. The goats. Sounds great. For my birthday, some family members chipped in and got me a FactionFab muffler delete. That is like perfect. It has 3.5-inch tips, and it just sounds great. It sounds like a proper little sports car, which it should. It's only super loud on the cold start, and if I downshift and get on it real hard, otherwise it's just a nice sounding little car. It has a very interesting and unique little burble between about 1600 and 1900 RPM, which was surprising but enjoyable. It just sounds great. There's a drone in here. Alright. So, again, see? I'm going 50 miles an hour, 6th gear, about 1800 RPM, and it just sounds like a little bit louder than stock. So, the higher RPMs you go, it will get a little louder, but the frequencies aren't annoying. So that was a good call. Had my older boy shop for it. I think he made a good choice. Plus inventory, right? Who's got anything in stock anymore? So just kind of got lucky. Now we'll go back into what's next. I have a Remark 3-inch mid pipe that has a resonator, so I'm hoping that'll sound cool. It'll smooth out, it'll be just as loud. It's going to get louder, but it'll smooth out with the resonator, so it'll, you know, keep it to the unannoying level. I have a Grim Speed J pipe that's catted. I have a 3-port boost control solenoid. That'll help the tuning, control the boost, timing, and pressures. What else? I have the Grim Speed turbo inlet coming. It's a solid aluminum inlet. I have a COBB charge pipe kit. That should be in the mail. I just received my COBB top mount intercooler. What else did I get? I think that's it. So when I'm all said and done, I'll have to do some research, but I'll be well over 300 horsepower. But I'm going to do an E-tune. at this point. I'm not going to dyno it right now. At some point I will make an appointment and just do that when it's all settled in, maybe, and get some allowance saved up. But I have ordered an e-tune through Ambot. I tried to time it to where our first contact, and maybe he sends me a base map. I should have my parts, and I'll do the tear down and install. Throw that first map on, and then just follow the directions. Just do whatever I need to do. So I'll document that process. It's something I have never done before, and you know, I haven't seen a completely thorough. People try to do that, but I think it just takes so much concentration doing the logging and such that it might be challenging to document that whole process. So I'll try to document as much as I can, because it's one of those things that is mysterious and can be kind of shaky, because I mean, you do have to push the car from time to time, but I have no problem with that, because I've pushed it as far as I think I would need to do on an e-tune. So I've kind of gotten beyond that fear. When it was brand new, I babied it. Plus I was on the lease, so I wasn't sure how the lease was going to end, if I was going to purchase it or not. So, but once I did, I kind of came out of the shell. So just kind of an overview. Would highly recommend, if you're in the market right now for a vehicle that's fun to drive and gets pretty good gas mileage, and that would give you some flexibility to upgrade, get some more horsepower out of it, and maintain most of your comforts in the daily drive. This is one I would recommend. I haven't driven every car out there, but market is very rough right now for buyers. But I would say if you get your hand on one of these, this is probably a good one to hang on to. So if I think of anything else, I'll kind of throw it up in the description section. But right. So this is Crew Car Wash, very popular in Indianapolis. The reason is there's a lot of them. You can get an unlimited service, especially in the winter. You got to rinse these things off. They'll get corroded from all the salts and such. good service. They've got a good rinse and a good dry, which I appreciate. So I go ahead and spend the money on the unlimited, because I can wash my car anytime I want, as long as they're open. And they're open when it's snowing sometimes, when it's lightly raining. Sometimes the best time to come get a good rinse is if you're going to plan on parking it, you know, just before the rain starts, get a little drizzle. Got a little bird poop on my car, so that's the only reason I'm washing it again. But I was out here just before rain and garaged it, so